What's going on, everybody? It's Jeremy welcoming you back to another episode of The Barbershop. Today, I got to enjoy sampling myself a Michelob Ultra Infusion pear and lime and prickly pear cactus flavor. It was really pretty crazy. It's super light, very refreshing. Interesting how they specifically make sure to let you know there's only 95 calories in every bottle. Like that really matters, you know. But to those that are calorie conscious while you're trying to enjoy yourself an alcoholic beverage, there you go. 95 calories a bottle. Pretty interesting flavoring. Super light, very crisp. Definitely a calming, relaxing summer flavored beer. Today I specifically want to be talking out to those 90s kids. All y'all in your 30s that remember the 90s. Some of y'all even breaking that big 40 number. I want to give y'all a little bit of a stroll down memory lane here, as today I talk about general things from video games to books to common occurrences to fashion senses to tastes of music from the 90s. Those in particular that I remember being born in 92. Now, before anyone wants to start to argue, obviously, being born in 92, it was 97 by the time, I'm 5, and I was kind of really cognizant of what is going on and what I could remember. However, it's my podcast, so suck it. I'm definitely a 90s kid, and I have memories of the 90s fondly. The first thing I want to start off with, as it is actively my weekend, starting right now, is OG Disney Channel original movies that seem to be straight to TV. Obviously, there was always going to be the big hits of Disney that went into theaters. However, I'm talking Johnny Tsunami, Horse Sense, Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. All of those fantastic, straight through TV Disney original movies. And that goofy, kooky, let's watch a Disney Channel original movie jingle that happened with all the kids jumping through the weird, crazy CGI blue screen, even though it was actually probably a green screen. But nevertheless, I remember that. The next thing that was always entertaining as a young child in the 90s was when you could go to like a convenience store or a gas station and buy a fun little can of Flarp. Fart in a can. It was green, pink, blue, whatever color goop that after you pop the top, you stick your finger in and it just, blows a raspberry at you. It just gives you a good little sound. And that was a grand way to spend any kind of an allowance if you happen to be the kind of child that had to do chores in order to earn a quarter per chore that you finally got paid at the end of the week. That was another thing I remember in general. Another place that in particular I remember picking up the Flarp was at a personal favorite little hotspot called Liberty Sound. Down in the south end of St. Joseph, Missouri, back in the 90s, there was a awesome little store. There was a movie rental gig, and that's exactly what we did. It would be like a Friday evening after school, elementary school, getting picked up. If I was lucky, otherwise I had to walk home. That was another thing that happened in the 90s, walking home. Walking anywhere definitely feels like it was kind of a 90s thing at this point in life. But I remember the Liberty Sound bookets was also a thing from my elementary school. Every time we read a certain number of chapters or a certain number of pages in a book, we would get a little coupon that would be for a free 5-day movie pass, a movie rental. And of course, that movie rental could also be used on OG video games, either for the 64 or the Super. And for those of you who don't know what the Super is, I'm talking the Super Nintendo system. I'm not going to go down into Dreamcast or Sega or NES or any of that nonsense. But there were all manner of games after MSN came on, or AOL, American Online. And that obnoxious, gear-grinding, atrocious sound of logging on through the AOL or the MSN modem noise. And what was worse was trying to pick up the phone and make a phone call while you were finding out that someone in the house was online. Or even worse, being online and being interrupted because a phone call was trying to be made. Yeah, back in the 90s, the internet shared the phone line. An additional thing that really kind of made the 90s were several bands And the two that I want to talk about that kind of semi-destroyed life were NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Every guy, regardless of who you were, how tough, how cool, whatever, you knew plenty of lyrics. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to lie. You knew them, I knew them, we all knew them, and we still danced to them at weddings, speaking from experience. The next thing I remember enjoying was when school shut down 1 year in the winter. I remember being sick, and that just felt fantastic. A sick day during the winter that led into additional time off of school for snow days, only to be informed when a buddy of mine came to bring me my homework that I had missed over like the 2 or 3 days. He brought me some homework and said, hey, don't worry about school until Monday because they're going to close down so they can fumigate the school because everybody's getting sick. That was awesome. That was in, I don't know, 97, 98, 99. It was sometime in that era in elementary school, and that was the coolest feeling. To dread opening the door and seeing my buddy at the time bringing me a stack of paperwork for homework I had missed over essentially what was going to become a whole week of school, to learn that I had an additional 2 days off for free, which rolled into a weekend, making for 4 days off, giving me essentially 9 days off school. My math may be a little wrong. Like I said, I've enjoyed myself some Michelob Ultra. Moving on. A goofy little toy that I remember enjoying were koosh balls. Those goofy, fluffy, fuzzy, stringy, rubbery balls that were just a big old plopping wad of hair that you could throw at your friends. You could throw on the floor. You could watch them bounce. You could try and find them and lose them under the couch. And that was hours upon hours of entertainment. Just like how my loneliness as an only child in the 90s was to spend time at my grandmother's with a walnut, her laminated kitchen floor, and a yardstick. And I practiced hockey that I knew nothing about. However, practiced hockey. It was a good time. Walnut and a yardstick on a linoleum floor. I was set. Entertainment for hours. Another thing that I remember doing was going through the Major Saver experience in the program of selling those golden or silver cards that were coupon cards that would get punched when you went to get your hair cut and had a coupon on that Major Savers, or when you went to whatever fast food, Sonic, McDonald's, wherever, and you got a corresponding meal at a discount and they would punch the card, or score bonus, they forgot to punch the card and you just told them you had it. And that means you got to go back a second time. Usually, it was pretty hefty. It was, I think, whopping like $20, but it was supposed to be a coupon card good for the whole year. And obviously, for a couple of years, that same gold card rolled over, even after that gold card was supposed to turn silver. It was a good time. Great memory. So while selling Major Savers, it was obviously a big old gimmick, just like Scholastic's book fair pamphlets of what do you want to buy, even though you're never going to read it because you're in elementary school, and reading wasn't the biggest thing for me. And yet, here I am as a grown adult, and I read every day. Read in the morning, read in the evening. Probably about a chapter a night. But, furthering on in my nerdiness, I'm remembering the Major Savers program. The whole goal was to sell enough Major Savers cards to earn enough points to be able to exchange those points for inflatable furniture. An inflatable pillow, stuffed with feathers, of course, just to make it more kooky and goofy, or an inflatable armchair that just about everybody ended up having. Can't forget the little inflatable ottoman, or Davenport, depending on where you're from. That's the weirdest name for it. Nevertheless, we all know what we're talking about. If you don't, it's okay. Google's a thing. Another thing I remember is that I was probably 6-7 years old, and I finally was given the independence to carry my own $5 bill 3 blocks from my house in the south end of St. Joseph, Missouri, along a major thoroughfare. Not on a sidewalk, but just kind of in the ditch, the gutter, the whatever you need to call it, the area where the rainwater would fill up. And I was able to walk by myself those 3 blocks with cold hard cash in my pocket to go buy whatever, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup and a Mountain Dew and whatever else I could scrounge around for $5. $5 went a long way. You could stretch $5 pretty far. Used to be able to put $5 worth of gas in your car and make it a week. Not anymore. Them days are about as extinct as the dinosaurs. But I remember the safety and the comfort of being so young, unaccompanied, and walking to a busy public business to perform commerce of my own with my mom's permission. It was okay to do so because it was a safe enough period in time. Also in the 90s, there was a couple of movies that came out, and one in particular that really inspired an entire generation of women to go goo goo gaga all over a gentleman who is named after a famous Renaissance man. Possibly. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, DiCaprio is exactly who I'm talking about. And that infamous movie that will bring a tear to any person's eye from the 90s. Not even because of the movie making you cry, but just the memory of the 90s. And, of course, that movie is the Titanic. Every girl was just ecstatic about the Titanic. The missus herself will just gush about any time that I'm like, hey, baby, I'm just interested in watching the Titanic. You down? And she'll already have it up. I have to say, tuh. And it's getting loaded up either through Netflix or I'm sure we own it actually on DVD. But nevertheless, moving on, the Titanic. That was a big deal as well in the 90s. More for the guys was trying to enjoy Saturday cartoons, or in general just cartoons that you could find on Cartoon Network. And the absolute plethora of all of the cartoon shows, and that was I'm also including Boomerang, I'll admit to that, but anything from Courage the Cowardly Dog, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, Johnny Bravo, OG, the Jetsons, the Flintstones, you name it, it was probably on Cartoon Network. Dragon Ball Z, trying to stay up late so you could catch Toonami and all those adult shows, the anime shows that cussed, like Yu Yu Hakusho, and so on and so forth. Those were also a great time. So I have made it to the end of my recording time, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of 90s Nostalgia. I will probably be bringing you a part 2, as well as hopefully some further information about when I will successfully get a chance to nail down that interview with Scott Patrolak. It is coming, folks. It's just my weekend will be spent in Kauffman Stadium, ecstatic as a 90s child, knowing that Titanic came out, screaming like a little girl, excited to watch the Boston Red Sox play here in a local area over in KC. So that's what I will be doing. But you will have an episode for the week, and I am sure you will have a part 2 of the 90s Nostalgia, as well as hopefully some updated information about that interview with our local tattoo artist over at Oracle's Eye, Scott Patrolak, the man himself. So, thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow me, leave me a DM through Instagram, TikTok, my Snapchat, wherever you need to reach me. Enjoy watching this on either YouTube or hearing from me on Spotify. And remember, as long as the lights are on and there's beer in the fridge, there will be the barbershop.